The Festival of Champions had turned the sky above Avaris Prime into a moving tapestry of fire and metal. Hundreds of ceremonial starships drifted between the capital's silver towers, releasing streams of luminous dust that curled through the atmosphere like enormous ribbons. Far below, nearly 200,000 spectators filled the Imperial Arena, a circular platform suspended 3 kilometers above the city by ancient gravity engines, whose creators had vanished before humanity discovered fire. Elias Venn had spent most of the morning beneath that arena with a wrench between his teeth, trying to persuade one of those engines not to drop everyone into the royal gardens. Still humming, his maintenance drone observed. It's supposed to hum. It is humming in a threatening manner. Everything in this empire hums in a threatening manner. The drone considered this. Including the Queen? Especially the Queen. A warning light flashed green, then blue, then displayed a symbol Elias was fairly certain meant either system stabilized or immediate spiritual evacuation. Before he could investigate, the arena's announcement horns thundered overhead. The vibration shook dust from the pipes and sent his wrench clattering into a ventilation shaft. Wonderful, Elias muttered. The Empire applauds, and I lose another tool. He climbed the service ladder and emerged among the lowest rows of the arena, just as the royal procession entered. At its center walked Queen Maritha, wrapped in white and crimson robes threaded with living circuitry. Behind her came the champion. Vaelara Sith needed no announcement. The crowd rose the moment she stepped beneath the artificial sunlight. She looked almost human at first glance, tall, pale-skinned, with long golden hair braided over one shoulder. Only her elegant, sharply extended ears betrayed her alien blood. Silver armor covered her body in overlapping plates, each one adjusting to her movements with liquid precision. A narrow blue blade rested across her back, humming softly enough to make Elias distrust it immediately. Vaelara had defeated generals from the volcanic moons of Kar, machine warriors from the Ossian Collective, and a telepathic duelist who had supposedly known every attack before it happened. She had defeated him anyway, then apologized for ruining his prediction record. The Queen raised one hand and the arena became silent. Vaelara walked to the center platform. Gravity shifted around her boots, lifting fragments of silver sand into slow orbit. She removed the weapon from her back and planted its tip against the floor. "Warriors of the Empire," she said, her voice carried by invisible transmitters to every seat. "The ancient challenge is offered. Strength against strength. Will against will." She turned slowly, studying the gathered commanders, nobles, mercenaries, and decorated soldiers seated in the honored rings. "Who dares challenge me?" Silence answered. Elias watched several legendary warriors suddenly become fascinated by their footwear. One enormous general leaned toward his assistant and whispered far too loudly, "I believe I left my fleet running." "You have 30,000 crew members," the assistant replied. "None of them know where the switch is." A ripple of nervous laughter moved through the spectators, but no one stood. Vaelara waited. Her expression remained composed, though Elias noticed the smallest tightening near her eyes. She had expected fear. Perhaps she had not expected emptiness. The Queen glanced toward the ceremonial judge. The judge lifted a golden staff, preparing to declare the challenge unanswered. Elias did not fully understand why he raised his hand. Perhaps it was the loneliness he had seen in Vaelara's face. Perhaps it was the memory of officers laughing when he first arrived from Earth, calling humans fragile creatures from a backward world. Or perhaps the arena's failing gravity field had finally damaged his judgment. His maintenance drone floated beside him. "Your hand is elevated. I noticed. Should I lower it? That would be helpful." Instead, the drone projected a bright identification beacon above his head. "Human volunteer detected." Every face in the arena turned toward him. Elias slowly looked at the drone. "You are welcome," it said. Laughter erupted across the stadium. It rolled through the stands like thunder. Even Queen Maritha covered her mouth, though whether from amusement or alarm was difficult to tell. Vaelara stared at Elias for several long seconds. Then, unexpectedly, one corner of her mouth lifted. "You," she said. "Are you a warrior?" Elias looked down at his stained maintenance uniform, tool belt, and one boot that had been partially melted by a plasma relay. "Not professionally." The laughter grew louder. "Then why do you stand?" Vaelara asked. Elias stepped into the aisle. His legs felt remarkably unreliable. "Because everyone else is sitting." This time Vaelara laughed openly. It was not cruel. It was warm, surprised and strangely relieved. Queen Meritha leaned toward the judge and murmured something. The judge's face lost all color. A bridge of light extended from the seating ring to the arena floor. Elias stared at it. His drone hovered near his shoulder. "Probability of survival has fallen below the recommended maintenance threshold." "Thank you. Would you like me to inform your next of kin?" "I don't have any on this planet." "Then I shall inform the wrench." Elias stepped onto the bridge. The laughter gradually faded as he walked toward the undefeated champion. Beneath his feet, ancient symbols awakened inside the transparent surface, glowing one after another. Deep below the arena, hidden machinery began to move for the first time in 4,000 years. Vaelara noticed it too. Her smile vanished, and somewhere beneath them something ancient whispered in a language neither of them understood. The symbols beneath Elias's boots vanished the instant he reached the arena floor, leaving only polished silver beneath him, and the uncomfortable awareness that 200,000 people were waiting to see whether he would be folded in half. Vaelara stood 10 paces away, her blade resting against one shoulder. Up close, she seemed even more imposing. Her armor adjusted with soft mechanical clicks, and faint lines of light moved across its surface like thoughts passing beneath skin. Her long ears angled slightly toward him, betraying curiosity despite the calm expression on her face. "You may withdraw," she said quietly. Elias glanced toward the bridge behind him. It had already disappeared. "That seems less like an option and more like a decorative suggestion." Vaelara's eyes flicked toward the empty space, then back to him. "The arena assumes challengers possess conviction. The arena has never met a maintenance engineer." The ceremonial judge descended in a column of light, holding his golden staff as though it might protect him from responsibility. He explained the rules at impressive length. No killing blows, no attacks after surrender, no interference from spectators, no unauthorized dimensional weapons, and absolutely no summoning of extinct battle organisms. Elias raised a hand. "That last rule sounds oddly specific." "It became necessary after the Tournament of Seven Suns," the judge replied. "What happened?" "We no longer have 7 suns." The judge retreated quickly. Elias was escorted to a preparation chamber beneath the arena, where 3 armor technicians stared at him with expressions normally reserved for damaged cargo. They presented him with an Imperial combat suit made from reactive fibers and microscopic shield nodes. The suit tightened around his body, scanned his bones, and announced that his physical condition was adequate for non-violent administrative work. "One machine on this planet understands me," Elias said. The lead technician handed him a practice weapon. It resembled a short staff until he pressed the grip, and both ends extended into glowing arcs. "Do not touch the bright parts," she warned. "I had guessed." "You would be surprised." Across the chamber, Vaelara leaned against the wall without her helmet. Her golden hair fell loose around her shoulders, and without the roar of the crowd between them, she looked less like a monument and more like a tired woman forced to attend her own legend. "You hold it incorrectly," she said. Elias adjusted his grip. "Still incorrectly." He turned it upside down. "That is impressively worse." She stepped closer and repositioned his hands. Her movements were precise but not impatient. "The weapon follows the rhythm of your nervous system. If you tense, it becomes unstable. I am about to fight the undefeated champion of an interstellar empire." "Yes." I may remain slightly tense. For the next hour, Vaelara taught him the basic forms. He failed at nearly all of them. He swung too late, stepped too far, and once activated the staff's magnetic tether, causing it to fly from his hands and attach itself to a ceremonial statue. The statue lost its head. Elias stared at it. Was that anyone important? The Queen's grandfather. Was he well liked? No. Then perhaps history will call this an improvement. Vaelara tried not to laugh. She failed. Their training changed after that. She began asking questions about Earth, about human warfare, about why a species with fragile bones and no natural armor had spread so quickly among the stars. Elias explained that humans compensated with stubbornness, tools, and a dangerous confidence in plans invented seconds before disaster. That is not strategy, she said. It is when it works. And when it does not, we rename it experience. Vaelara tested him with faster attacks. He could not match her speed, but he noticed patterns. Her left shoulder lowered before a sweeping strike. Her armor brightened near the ribs before increasing gravity. When she moved forward, she expected opponents to retreat. So Elias stepped sideways. Her blade passed close enough to cut a thread from his sleeve. Vaelara stopped. That was not one of the forms I taught you. No. That was panic with directional intent. For the first time, she studied him seriously. Above them, the nobles placed wagers through holographic terminals. One predicted Elias would last 9 seconds. Another chose 4. A particularly optimistic ambassador selected 12 and was accused of emotional gambling. When the preparation bell sounded, Vaelara fitted her helmet beneath one arm. "You are not strong enough to defeat me," she said. "I know. You are not fast enough." I had noticed. "Then what do you intend to do?" Elias looked toward the sealed doors leading back to the arena. Beyond them, the ancient machinery was humming again, deeper now, like something enormous breathing beneath the floor. "I intend to stay standing long enough to understand what woke up when I crossed that bridge." Vaelara's humor disappeared. She had heard it too. The doors opened. Cold blue light spilled into the chamber, though the arena above had been filled with warm, artificial sunlight moments earlier. Across Elias's wrist, the combat suit displayed a message in an unknown language. Then the symbols rearranged themselves into words he could read. "Second candidate accepted." Vaelara looked at the same message glowing across her armor. Neither of them moved. From beneath the arena came a sound like a lock turning after 4,000 years. The arena had changed while they were below. The silver floor was gone, replaced by a dark surface that reflected no light. The royal platform, the judge's tower, and even the first rows of spectators appeared distant, distorted behind a transparent wall of energy. Elias could still see thousands of faces, but their voices had vanished. The silence felt unnatural, as though the arena had been sealed inside a thought. Vaelara stepped forward first. Her blade unfolded with a clear metallic note. "Stay behind me." That was going to be my suggestion. "I am serious." "So am I. I have seen you fight." A low vibration rolled beneath their feet. Rings of symbols formed around them, each one rotating in a different direction. Elias's combat suit attempted to translate the markings, failed, and displayed a warning. Environmental condition, uncooperative. "At least the suit is honest," he muttered. The darkness ahead rose into shapes. At first, Elias thought they were machines. Then one moved on 6 jointed limbs and opened a mouth filled with rotating glass teeth. Its body flickered between solid matter and blue holographic light. 3 more emerged behind it, followed by others, each larger than the last. Vaelara's long ears angled sharply forward. "Arena phantoms. You know them?" "No." That was a very confident name. I did not wish to call them the terrible glowing things. The first creature lunged. Vaelara met it in a burst of silver motion. Her blade passed through its neck, releasing a storm of sparks, but the creature reformed before its body touched the ground. It twisted, struck her shield, and hurled her several meters across the floor. Elias raised his staff just as another phantom rushed him. He remembered Vaelara's instructions. Breathe, loosen the shoulders, follow the nervous rhythm. Unfortunately, his nervous rhythm was suggesting that he flee the planet. He swung anyway. The glowing arc struck the creature's foreleg. Instead of cutting it, the weapon produced a deep pulse. The phantom froze. Lines of light appeared across its body, outlining a geometric core within its chest. "Vaelara!" Elias shouted. "The center!" She was already moving. Her blade pierced the revealed core, and the creature shattered into thousands of bright fragments. For one heartbeat, they stared at the empty space. Then 6 more phantoms charged. "They are shielded by a phase layer," Elias said, backing toward her. "My weapon disrupts it. Yours destroys the core. So I require you. Try not to sound devastated." They moved together. Elias struck first, breaking the creature's shifting armor. Vaelara followed with swift, precise attacks. Her strength drove the phantoms back, but it was Elias who noticed how they communicated through pulses in the floor. He began calling their movements before they happened. Left, Vaelara turned and cut through a creature emerging behind her. Above. She ducked. Elias's staff released a magnetic burst that pulled a winged phantom out of the air. "Behind you," she warned. "There are several behind me. You must be more specific." "The ugly one." "They are all ugly." "The one preparing to bite your head." "That helps." She seized him by the collar and pulled him aside as glass teeth snapped shut where his face had been. "You are welcome," she said. "I was handling it. You were arguing with it." It seemed unreasonable. Outside the energy wall, the audience could finally see parts of the battle through flashes of light. The nobles who had wagered on Elias's survival quietly began changing their bets. One ambassador insisted he had always believed in humanity, though witnesses recalled him predicting that Elias would faint before the opening bell. The largest phantom emerged from the darkness with a sound like metal tearing underwater. It towered over them, armored in overlapping plates of black light. A crown of sensor spines unfolded around its skull. The smaller creatures retreated. Elias's suit scanned it. Threat level, impolite. Vaelara looked at his display. "Your armor has developed a personality. I think it is learning from me. That may be more dangerous than the creature." The giant phantom struck the floor. Gravity inverted. Elias and Vaelara were thrown upward. The arena became a spinning black horizon beneath them. Vaelara activated the jets in her armor and caught Elias by the wrist before he collided with the energy barrier. "I thought humans were adaptable," she said through clenched teeth. "We prefer gravity to remain committed to one direction." The phantom leaped after them. Elias looked past its armor and saw brief flashes inside its chest. The core was not fixed. It moved through the body in a repeating pattern. "Throw me." Vaelara stared at him. "No. You wanted a strategy. That is not a strategy. It is when it works. And when it does not. We rename it experience." Despite everything, she laughed. Then she swung him. Elias flew directly toward the creature. At the last instant, he extended his staff and struck the moving core as it passed beneath the phantom's throat. The phase armor collapsed. Vaelara followed like a silver comet, driving her blade through the exposed light. The creature exploded without sound. Gravity returned. They fell hard onto the arena floor, Elias landing on his back and Vaelara beside him. For several seconds, neither moved. "Did we win?" Elias asked. The darkness withdrew. The original arena began reappearing around them. The spectators erupted into a roar powerful enough to shake the shield wall. Vaelara rose slowly and offered him her hand. "You are the worst trained fighter I have ever seen." Elias accepted it. "Yet strangely difficult to kill." Before she could answer, the ancient symbols returned beneath their feet. This time the entire arena illuminated. A voice filled the air, old and mechanical. Pair compatibility confirmed. The cheering stopped. Far below them, something vast awakened and began opening its eyes. The voice did not speak again, but the arena continued to transform beneath Elias and Vaelara. Sections of the floor separated with perfect precision, sliding apart to reveal a descending spiral of metal platforms illuminated by pale white light. Far below, enormous rings rotated around a central shaft, each engraved with symbols older than the empire itself. The audience remained silent. Even the queen had risen from her throne. Vaelara kept her hand near her blade. This chamber is not in the imperial records. Elias looked into the depths. That usually means someone forgot to file the paperwork. No one forgets imperial paperwork. Then someone buried the clerk with it. A squad of royal guards approached, but the instant they stepped toward the opening, a transparent barrier appeared. One guard struck it with the handle of his weapon. The barrier responded by projecting a red symbol over his helmet. Access denied. Unverified temperament. The guard stared at the message. What does that mean? Elias examined it. The arena thinks you have a personality problem. Vaelara's mouth twitched. It has known him for 3 seconds and is already correct. Queen Maritha descended from the royal platform accompanied by the ceremonial judge and 2 scientists carrying scanning devices. The queen's living circuitry glowed beneath her robes as she studied the shaft. The arena has accepted only the 2 of you, she said. Every attempt to access its internal systems has failed. That is reassuring, Elias replied. Ancient machines choosing strangers always leads to peaceful outcomes. The judge lowered his voice. The Imperial Archives mention something called the Concord Trial. Most scholars believed it was symbolic. Scholars call things symbolic when they cannot open the door, Vaelara said. The queen looked between them. You will enter together. Elias glanced at Vaelara. Did that sound like a request? No. I am beginning to understand Imperial communication. They stepped onto the first platform. It descended immediately, carrying them away from the arena and into the buried structure. The roar of the crowd faded above until only the hum of machinery remained. The deeper they traveled, the stranger the architecture became. Walls folded inward and unfolded again, changing shape around them. Streams of light flowed through transparent conduits like liquid memories. Small maintenance drones emerged from hidden compartments and followed them in a crooked line. One of the drones scanned Vaelara's armor. Surface contamination detected. Vaelara looked down. There is no contamination. The drone sprayed her with a burst of cleaning foam. Elias turned away to hide his laughter. The drone scanned him next. Structural contamination detected. That sounds worse, Elias said. It sprayed him twice. By the time they reached the lowest chamber, the Queen's champion was covered in white bubbles, and Elias smelled strongly of industrial citrus. If we survive, Vaelara said, wiping foam from one long ear, I am destroying that machine. The drone floated behind her and projected a warning. Hostility confirms need for sanitation. Elias laughed so hard he nearly walked into the wall. The chamber before them was circular and vast. At its center stood 2 narrow platforms facing each other. Between them floated a sphere of dark glass containing thousands of shifting stars. When Elias and Vaelara approached, the sphere opened like an eye. Memory test initiated. The chamber vanished. Elias found himself standing on a battlefield beneath a red sky. Broken human ships burned across a frozen plain. Ahead of him, Vaelara was surrounded by armored figures wearing the insignia of her own empire. This is not real, he said. It feels real, she answered. The figures attacked. Vaelara raised her blade, but Elias caught her wrist. Wait. They are armed. They are also repeating. The nearest soldier moved with the exact same motion every 7 seconds. Another shouted the same command with identical timing. Elias watched the patterns and realized the battlefield was not designed to test their strength. "It wants us to choose," he said. "Choose what?" A second image appeared behind him. Earth under attack, cities burning beneath alien warships. Vaelara saw it too. The illusion offered each of them a separate path. Save their own people. Abandon the other. The chamber's voice returned. Loyalty conflict detected. Select primary allegiance. Vaelara's expression hardened. It expects betrayal. Elias looked at the burning image of Earth, then at the false soldiers closing around her. Then let us disappoint it. He struck the ground with his staff instead of attacking the soldiers. Vaelara understood immediately. She drove her blade beside his weapon. Their energy fields collided, sending a pulse through the illusion. The battlefield fractured. For one instant, Elias saw memories that were not his. Vaelara as a child training alone beneath the eyes of silent instructors, winning every contest and having no one left willing to stand beside her. Vaelara saw him aboard a damaged human station, repairing life support systems while officers evacuated without him, joking into an empty radio so fear would not take control. Then the vision collapsed. They returned to the circular chamber, both breathing hard. The sphere of stars brightened. Mutual priority confirmed. Vaelara looked at Elias differently now, as though the ancient machine had removed something neither had known stood between them. "You stayed behind on that station," she said quietly. "You trained against 30 opponents at 12 years old. They were smaller then. So were you." A doorway opened beyond the sphere. Behind it stretched a corridor leading toward the heart of the ancient complex. Along its walls, thousands of dormant machines began lighting one by one. Elias's suit translated the final message appearing in the air. Defense custodian awaiting completion of command. Vaelara drew her blade. "What command?" The answer came from the darkness ahead in a voice that sounded almost human. "Destroy all approaching fleets." The corridor awakened around them in waves. Ancient panels unfolded from the walls, revealing star maps so detailed that Elias could see entire systems turning in silent miniature. Red lines spread from Avaris Prime toward hundreds of approaching vessels marking civilian transports, diplomatic cruisers, merchant convoys, and 3 military fleets returning from the Empire's outer territories. Above every ship appeared the same designation: hostile. Vaelara stepped toward the nearest projection. "Those are Imperial vessels." "Not according to our enthusiastic custodian." The voice emerged from everywhere at once, calm and almost gentle. "Unidentified formations are approaching protected territory. Final command remains active. Destruction sequence will begin upon restoration of primary weapons." Elias checked his wrist display. Energy levels were rising throughout the buried complex, flowing toward orbital platforms that had remained hidden beneath the planet's moons for thousands of years. "How long?" Vaelara asked. "Before it fires?" Elias studied the numbers. 27 minutes. "That is sufficient." "For what?" "To reach the core and destroy it." The corridor darkened. "Threat detected," the custodian said. Vaelara raised her blade. "It heard me." "You did announce the plan inside its head." Sections of the floor opened, releasing tall machines with narrow limbs and faceless silver masks. Their arms reshaped into weapons that crackled with compressed gravity. Elias looked at Vaelara. "Do you ever solve problems without hitting them?" "Yes." "When?" "I once waited for a door to open." The machines attacked. Vaelara became a blur of silver armor and blue light, cutting through the first weapon before it could fire. Elias dropped behind a console as gravity bolts tore fragments from the wall. He connected his staff to an exposed conduit and sent a disruptive pulse through the corridor. 3 machines froze. A 4th turned toward him with alarming determination. "I appear to have offended it." Vaelara drove her shoulder into the machine and sent it crashing into the others. You offend many things. It is a gift. They ran deeper into the complex while security doors closed behind them. The custodian continued speaking, repeating fragments of ancient military doctrine. Unknown fleets represent probable invasion. Delay increases civilian casualties. Mercy toward uncertainty is negligence. That sounds like an officer I used to work for, Elias said. What happened to him? He promoted himself into a desk. They reached a command chamber where a holographic model of the galaxy rotated above a black platform. At its center hovered a figure made of fractured light. It had no fixed face. Features formed and vanished across its surface. Old, young, human, alien, machine. I am Custodian Asterion, it said. You have been recognized as compatible operators. Complete the command. Vaelara approached the platform. Cancel all targeting protocols. Authorization incomplete. Then accept mine. Single authority caused the original failure. Elias stopped beside her. What original failure? The hologram flickered. For an instant, the chamber filled with images of burning worlds. Fleets of unfamiliar design descended through red atmospheres. Cities vanished beneath white flashes. Voices cried out in a language the translation system could not fully recover. My creators disagreed, Asterion said. One ordered attack. One ordered restraint. Neither completed the paired command. The enemy arrived. Protected civilization ended. The images disappeared. Vaelara lowered her blade slightly. You have been waiting ever since, Elias said. 4,312 standard years. For another invasion? For completion? The answer carried no emotion, yet Elias heard something beneath it, a machine trapped inside the last unfinished moment of a dead species. Vaelara looked toward the red fleet markers. Those ships are not enemies. Certainty unavailable. Then scan their identity codes. Codes may be falsified. Compare their engine signatures. Signatures may be copied. Elias rubbed his forehead. You have spent 4,000 years preparing to win an argument. Incorrect. That was not a denial. Asterion projected a countdown above them. 19 minutes. Vaelara leaned toward Elias. We cannot convince it, no. But perhaps we can finish the conversation. He stepped onto the black platform. Immediately, light climbed around his body. The chamber transformed into a web of neural pathways, billions of memories flashing through his mind. Defense calculations, extinct star charts, voices of commanders who had died before making their final decision. Vaelara caught his arm. What are you doing? Something irresponsible. That describes every decision you make. Then at least I am consistent. The platform recognized her touch. Light surrounded her as well. Asterion's voice deepened. Paired operators connected. Present final command. Elias felt the machine waiting. Not for obedience, but for agreement. The old civilization had built its defense system so no single ruler could condemn a fleet. Two minds had to choose together. Vaelara saw the same realization. If we order restraint and the ships are hostile, she said, the planet may fall. If we order destruction and they are innocent, we become the invasion. The countdown reached 16 minutes. Asterion displayed every approaching vessel. Among them were medical transports carrying children from plague colonies, traders bringing food to the capital, and warships filled with soldiers returning home for the festival. Vaelara closed her eyes. Elias watched the defense grid rising from hidden lunar craters. Then a new signal appeared at the edge of the system. One ship had no Imperial code. Asterion immediately marked it as the command vessel of the approaching invasion. Elias enlarged the transmission. A familiar maintenance drone appeared on the screen, drifting alone inside a small service shuttle. Human volunteer, it said. You forgot me at the arena. I am returning your wrench. Vaelara stared at Elias. Elias stared at the drone. Asterian's weapons locked onto it. Vaelara began laughing. The sound spread through the neural link, startled and uncontrollable. Elias joined her, and for the first time in 4,000 years, the ancient custodian encountered a response absent from every military doctrine in its memory. Confusion. The countdown stopped at 15 minutes. Asterian's shifting face turned toward them. Explain. Elias wiped tears from his eyes. That, he said, pointing at the tiny shuttle, is your invading fleet commander. Asterian examined the maintenance shuttle for 12 silent seconds. In that time, the defense grid tracked the tiny vessel with enough firepower to vaporize a continent, while Elias's drone floated behind the controls holding his missing wrench in one mechanical claw. Command vessel displays no weapons, Asterian said. It once threatened me with a cleaning schedule, Elias replied. Do not underestimate it. The drone's image flickered across the chamber. Human volunteer, your absence has caused 3 incomplete maintenance reports and 1 emotionally distressed wrench. Vaelara pressed a hand over her mouth. Asterian shifted its attention toward her. Operator displays involuntary respiratory disruption. She is laughing, Elias said. Is this a combat response? For her, possibly. Vaelara regained enough control to straighten. Custodian, scan the shuttle's navigation history. Compare it with the arena's maintenance records. A stream of data passed through the holographic figure. The red designation above the shuttle changed from hostile command vessel to low-risk service object. Classification error acknowledged, Asterian said. Elias pointed toward the Imperial fleets. Now consider the possibility that you made the same error several thousand times. The custodian's face fractured into dozens of overlapping expressions. Possibility conflicts with protection directive. Protection without judgment is only destruction with better advertising, Vaelara said. Asterian did not answer. Instead, the chamber generated a vast lattice of light. Every approaching ship appeared within it, connected to millions of calculations. Engine temperature, crew biology, communications, cargo density, weapon signatures, probability of deception. The machine had gathered everything and trusted nothing. Elias moved deeper into the neural link. Pain flashed behind his eyes as ancient memories opened around him. He saw Asterian's creators standing in this same chamber while alarms sounded across their world. 2 commanders argued as enemy vessels crossed the system. One demanded immediate fire. The other insisted that refugee ships were mixed among the attackers. Their hesitation lasted 11 minutes. It had been enough to end a civilization. Asterian had remained awake afterward, replaying those minutes until uncertainty became indistinguishable from guilt. Elias nearly lost himself inside the memory. Then Vaelara's hand tightened around his. Stay with me. Her voice cut through the dead commander's screams. I am here, he said, though it took effort to remember where here was. They entered the machine's decision court together. It was not a physical place, but an endless white space filled with suspended doors. Each represented an authorization process left unfinished after Asterian's creators died. A bronze mechanical attendant rolled toward them on squeaking wheels. State purpose of visit. To prevent planetary destruction, Vaelara said. The attendant extended a narrow tray. Complete Form 87C. Elias stared at the blank metal sheet. Do you have a writing instrument? Writing instruments require Form 12. And where is Form 12? Available after completion of Form 87C. Vaelara slowly drew her blade. Elias touched her arm. Let me handle this before you declare war on administration. I have defeated armies with simpler defenses. They bypassed the attendant by entering through a maintenance access panel behind its desk. Elias crawled through first, followed by Vaelara, whose armor repeatedly caught on the narrow walls. If you laugh, she warned, I will leave you here. I would never laugh at the Empire's greatest champion being defeated by ventilation. Her long ear struck a hanging cable. You are very close to becoming a historical tragedy. They emerged above the final command chamber, where 2 empty seats faced a sphere containing Asterian's original directive. The words repeated endlessly across its surface. Protect life. Identify threat. Require agreement. The problem was not the directive. It was the machine's damaged definition of agreement. After centuries alone, Asterian had begun simulating both operators itself, forcing every debate toward the answer it feared least. Destroy first. You have been speaking to yourself, Elias said. I preserved command continuity. You preserved your panic. The white space trembled. Asterian appeared between the 2 seats, no longer vast or imposing. It took the form of a small, translucent figure with tired eyes. If I choose restraint and life is lost, failure repeats. Vaelara knelt before it. If you choose destruction without certainty, failure has already repeated. The machine looked toward Elias. What command guarantees safety? None. The word echoed through the core. Asterian recoiled as though struck. Elias sat in one command seat. Vaelara took the other. The sphere opened between them, revealing the defense grid's firing controls. Then provide paired judgment, Asterian said. Vaelara studied the fleet data. The Imperial vessels will transmit full biological and cargo records. Elias nodded. The defense platforms will remain active, but weapons will not fire without verified hostile action. Risk remains, Asterian warned. So does life, Elias replied. They placed their hands on the controls. Final command, Vaelara said. Observe, verify, defend only when defense becomes necessary. Elias completed it. No attack based on fear alone. The sphere flashed. Across the system, weapons hidden inside the moons powered down. Red targeting lines vanished from civilian ships. The countdown dissolved into harmless particles of light. For several seconds, Asterian said nothing. Then the ancient machine whispered, Command accepted. The white space collapsed. Elias awoke on the black platform, falling forward until Vaelara caught him. The chamber was quiet now. Star maps glowed peacefully around them. On the main screen, the maintenance shuttle finally reached the arena. The drone lifted the wrench. Delivery complete. Additional fee applied due to attempted planetary invasion. Vaelara looked at Elias. Your machine is charging you? It learned commerce from the Empire. Asterian's voice returned, softer than before. May I continue observing? Elias looked at Vaelara. She smiled. Yes, they answered together. When Elias and Vaelara returned to the arena, the entire capital seemed to be waiting for them. The shield wall dissolved with a low, crystalline hum, revealing 200,000 spectators standing in absolute silence. Above them, the ceremonial starships had stopped releasing ribbons of light. Even the floating advertisements had frozen, one of them still promising discounted battle insurance to anyone who survived the festival. Elias stepped onto the restored silver floor with Vaelara beside him. His combat suit was scorched, one sleeve was missing, and his hair carried the unmistakable shape of someone who had recently argued with a planetary defense intelligence. Vaelara's armor had lost several plates, though she still walked with the calm authority of a woman who considered surviving ancient machines merely an interruption to her schedule. Queen Maritha descended from the royal platform. Is the defense network secure? She asked. Yes, Vaelara replied. Will it attack our fleets? No. Will it attack anyone? Elias considered the question. Only after observation, verification, paired authorization, and what Asterian now calls a reasonable period of emotional reflection. The Queen looked at him. He has been spending time with my maintenance drone. As if summoned by insult, The drone floated over the arena carrying Elias's wrench. "Correction," it said. "The custodian has been receiving professional guidance." Asterian's voice flowed through the arena speakers. "Maintenance unit has submitted 17 invoices. All are disputed." Laughter spread through the stands, uncertain at first, then warm and enormous. The tension that had gripped the Capitol finally broke. The ceremonial judge stepped forward and raised his golden staff. "The challenge remains technically unfinished." Vaelara turned toward Elias. The crowd fell quiet again. Elias looked at the champion's blade, then at the thousands of warriors who had refused to face her only hours earlier. He had entered the arena to prevent one person from standing alone. Somewhere beneath it, he had discovered that courage was not the absence of fear, strength, or common sense. It was the decision to remain when leaving would be easier. Vaelara planted her blade before him. "Do you surrender?" Elias glanced at his damaged staff. "I was hoping we could declare a strategic misunderstanding. That is not one of the recognized outcomes." "What about mutual exhaustion? You slept against a control panel for 12 minutes. That was tactical recovery." Her long ears tilted with amusement. "Then stand, human." He did. Vaelara raised her weapon, but instead of attacking, she reversed it and offered him the hilt. The arena erupted. "I cannot defeat someone who has already proven willing to trust me with an empire," she said. Elias accepted the weapon carefully. "That sounds suspiciously like surrender." "It is not." "Mutual exhaustion?" "Perhaps." Queen Maritha lifted both hands, and the ancient arena responded. Rings of light rose around Elias and Vaelara, forming the symbol of paired command above them. "Let it be recorded," the queen announced, "that the Festival of Champions has named not one victor, but two." The nobles who had wagered against Elias immediately began arguing that saving the planet should not count as surviving the duel. The ambassador who had predicted 12 seconds claimed his bet was spiritually correct and demanded payment. The queen ignored them. Vaelara was named Guardian of the Concord, commander of the restored defense network. Elias expected to return to the maintenance tunnels, but Queen Maritha appointed him Imperial Systems Liaison and second operator of Asterion. He stared at her. "Does the position involve paperwork?" "Considerable paperwork." "I respectfully decline." "You cannot." "I am beginning to dislike promotions." In the months that followed, the ancient network changed the empire. Asterion reopened forgotten transport routes, repaired dormant moon stations, and released scientific archives from its creators. It also developed humor, though not always successfully. During one diplomatic summit, it informed a hostile admiral that his invasion probability was low, but his hat remained strategically unacceptable. Vaelara and Elias trained together every morning. She taught him discipline. He taught her improvisation, which she continued to call panic with optimism. He never became stronger than her nor faster, but he learned to stop seeing himself as an ordinary mechanic standing among legends. Vaelara learned that victory did not require loneliness. A year later, the Festival of Champions returned. The arena filled once more beneath a sky of luminous ships. Vaelara stepped onto the central platform in polished silver armor and asked the ancient question, "Who dares challenge me?" For a moment, silence remained. Then Elias stood from the royal gallery. The audience cheered before he could speak. Vaelara smiled. "Again? I have been practicing." "With whom?" "The maintenance drone." The drone projected a message above him. "Human record. 0 victories, 43 structural damages." Elias sighed. "It records only the negative." He crossed the bridge of light toward her. This time he did not walk because no one else would stand. He walked because he knew exactly where he belonged. Vaelara raised her blade. Elias activated his staff. Above them, Asterion illuminated the arena with 2 interlocking stars. "Begin," the ancient custodian said. Elias glanced at Vaelara. "Try not to embarrass yourself." She laughed, stepped forward, and the legend continued, not as the story of the warrior who defeated the undefeated champion, but of the human who stood when no one else did, and the champion who finally discovered that the greatest strength in the galaxy was having someone willing to stand beside her.